Hi all, I'm Denise, and I feel betrayed. You see, I believe my dad played a mean and terrible trick on me and my mom. My parents divorced when I was only 13, and thankfully I was relatively unharmed by their separation. They had no quarrels, they had no fights. One day my dad just took his things and left us. Mom cried a lot, asked him to return, but he never looked back. He left our house, our car, and promised to help us with money and continued sending me gifts on holidays, but he never came back in person. I always realized that Mom cried not because of the divorce per se, but because of losing Dad's money. You see, my father was incredibly rich, and when Mom lived with him, she didn't have to work, and I had all of the nicest things. After the divorce, everything changed for the worse. As I said, Dad continued helping us. He paid for my school and for our house, but we no longer had access to his bank card. Mom even had to go find work. I, however, found a loophole of sorts. Dad liked to buy me many gifts, and what I would often do is sell those clothes and gadgets that he had gotten me and sell them right back again, and tell him that I just lost or broke them. And every time I did, Father bought me replacements and even gave me some pocket money. Soon, Mom even had to open a bank account for me to have a place to keep all of that money. When I turned 14, Dad brought me a very special present. Not an iPhone or a gift certificate to a brand shop. It was a Japanese-styled box, locked and covered with kanji. Dad told me that the box was a surprise of sorts. If I managed to open it, I would receive the things that I had always dreamed about. Mom and I wondered what could possibly be in it. You see, the box was really tiny, and there was no chance of something truly valuable inside. Still, it might have contained securities or even a deed to one of Dad's factories or newspapers. Now, all we had to do was open that damn box. For an entire month, we puzzled over the darn thing. Both me and my mom tried everything to open it, but it was all in vain. I even thought of simply breaking it down, but Mom talked me out of that idea. After all, Dad might get angry and think we had cheated. Mom brought the lockbox to the local university. The experts didn't tell us anything we didn't already know, though. They only told us that the box really was a Japanese one, quite old and made by a real master. The professors even showed us several similar boxes, yet ours was larger and possessed much more difficult puzzles. After a while, I gained a new habit. Each evening, I spent an hour before going to bed working on that darn puzzle. In a half a year, I finally did it. Well, not the whole thing, but I did open the very first lock all by myself. It actually was kind of just blind luck. But that was the first step, and it encouraged me to keep moving farther. In several years, we finally managed to unlock all of the locks, took care of all the puzzles, and opened that damned box. Mom filmed everything on camera, and we both felt really nervous. I slowly opened the lid, and there was nothing inside. No securities, no deeds, just a small piece of stupid paper with "Money's not everything in life" written on it. We spent 3 years working on that damn box. We spent a lot of money consulting with specialists and historians who specialized in Japanese riddles, and all we got was a piece of paper with some dumb words. Mom hurled that stupid piece of wood right into the wall, and I gave that damn box a nice flying kick. Dad played a mean trick with us, and I wanted revenge. So Mom, as usual, locked herself in the kitchen and cried. But I wanted to show Dad that I really appreciated his joke, if you know what I mean. I went to Dad's main office, found his new Maserati, and got it off my chest by beating the car with a baseball bat. I made sure that no one would be able to restore the car to good shape. Although a week or so goes by and the time comes to pay for my school. Mom found out that all of our bank accounts were closed. The bank said that they took all of our money on a court order. You see, my dad just sued my mom and made her pay for his broken car. Can you imagine that? He made it look like my mom and I were some criminals. Of course, we didn't have enough money to pay for the repairs, so the court took everything from us. They even auctioned off our house. It felt just horrible. My mom and I tried to make peace with Dad. We called him, cried, even asked him to stop with his plan, and even threw tantrums. But everything we did was in vain. Soon he even stopped talking with us, literally cut both of us out of his life. So they sold our house and instead gave us some 5-room flat nonsense in the outskirts of the city. It's dingy and horrible. I even had to leave my elite school and transfer to some nightmare city school that's public. And now I have no way to enter a proper university. My future looks really grim, and it's all because of that damn box.
Hi all, I'm William and I am Denise's father. Well, I was her father and her mother's husband. Now I legally have nothing to do with those crazy women. I've always known that my wife stayed with me because of my money. She never actually loved me. She loved only cash, and I was okay with that. You see, she was beautiful, charming, well-educated, and knew every little thing of how to be a proper wife. My friends and colleagues envied me, and to be fair, that felt kind of nice. She even really enjoyed cooking for me and did that quite well. Her cooking skill was equal to that of a nice restaurant's chief cook, and she was a nice housewife to boot. Well, the laundry and similar stuff was mainly handled by servants, but still. Then Denise was born, and my wife decided to play an important part in our kids' upbringing. Well, we did have nannies and tutors, but Denise's mom preferred to teach our girl everything herself, and that was a definite plus. Still, in time, I realized that my wife started handling me like another servant. I was pretty sure that Denise's factor was the only one that still united us. My wife and I slept in different bedrooms, and she often tried to get me under her thumb. Guess she thought that my money was already hers and stopped pretending otherwise. Unfortunately, she managed to raise our girl in a similar way. Both my wife and my daughter stopped respecting me or even treating me like a living being altogether. For them, I was just a living cash machine and nothing more. I didn't want to leave them, but I had to. Otherwise, they'd bring me low. I got really tired of being their cash cow. Well, I still cared for them and fully provided for them. They had no access to my bank cards, but otherwise, I never limited them in money. You see, I really loved Denise and hoped that she inherited something from me and would eventually realize the failure of her mom's ways. Unfortunately, I was wrong. That box was just a small surprise for my girl. I just wanted to present her with a really rare and really interesting quest, nothing more. I don't even remember what I wrote on that piece of paper that I put inside it. The box was both a gift and a sort of test. You see, I knew for sure that Denise had no part-time jobs and that Denise's mom never gave her money. Yet still, my daughter had her own bank account with a regular positive income. At first, I even was afraid that my kid fell in with the wrong crowd. Later on, I realized that she just tricked me, asked me for gifts, and then sold them. That wasn't something to punish her for, at least she kept the money to herself. Still, I didn't understand why she didn't just ask for money. Then I noticed how the girls went after my little box. At first I was glad. I thought that Denise and her mom really liked my little quest. But then I realized the bitter truth. When they didn't find what they were looking for, they went for petty revenge. And that was the last straw. The car itself wasn't important. My heart was broken by the very fact of that stupid revenge. Guess I should have gone easy on them. Still, I was just too tired to be good anymore. They never wanted me. They wanted only money. So now they have to go on without money entirely. According to the papers, we aren't relatives anymore.
Hi, y'all. I'm Mary, and I live a life that's just like Harry Potter. Unfortunately, there's no giant with a kind heart in my life, and there's no magic. But hopelessness, well, maybe. I don't remember my parents at all. You see, I was adopted by my aunt. She doesn't really like to talk about my mom and dad, and I don't know why. A funny thing is, she's got a lot of photos of my dad, and she really likes to flip through them when she thinks I'm not looking. And yeah, this woman is really my aunt, my dad's younger sister. She adopted me after my parents fell victim to an aviation accident. They say my mom and dad were returning home from a business trip, and their plane fell into the ocean. I don't know that for sure, though. No one really tells me anything. Being an adopted child isn't actually that bad. Yeah, you often feel sad without your parents, and you miss them even if you don't really know them. Still, I'm not even the only adopted child in my class. There are 3 more orphans there, and all of them look quite happy. I'd be happy too if my adopted family was okay. Unfortunately, they're not. I've got 3 brothers, and all of them are older than me. They are all rowdy bullies who are fond of messing things up, and no one really protects me from their antics. My aunt apparently doesn't mind them. She's okay when they're making a mess in the kitchen or scatter their dirty clothes all over the house. You see, I'm the one who keeps everything in order. I clean the house, I help my aunt to care for her stubborn lawn, I do grocery shopping, and I'm not even allowed to keep the spare change. At least Cinderella had her fairy godmother to help her with all that stuff, and I have no one. My whole day is crammed with numerous duties. I go to school, then I go do homework, and then I do all the chores. Sometimes my aunt works late, and I have to cook for all 3 sons. I don't really like cooking, but they still make me do it. If everything goes okay, in the evening I just fall asleep exhausted. I don't even have any dreams because I'm so consistently tired. Still, sometimes it gets worse. From time to time, my brothers break into my room and ruin my notebooks and all of my other stuff, and I can't do anything about it. There are 3 of them, they're older than me, and my aunt always takes their side. During the weekends, nothing changes too much. Of course, I don't have to go to school, but the list of chores grows even longer. I've forgotten to tell you where I live. Once again, Harry Potter vibes incoming. My room is in the cupboard under the stairs. There's no dirt or dust or spiders or anything bad there, though. But still, my brothers live in a nice, comfy rooms on the 1st floor, and I've got the place under the stairs. No justice, there's none at all. Well, with a life like that, I had to get used to the taste of injustice. I don't even have someone to complain to. I told the officials at school all about these horrors I endure. I told everything to my neighbors, and I even contacted the child services. But no one agreed to help me. All those people keep telling me that I'm just making things up and my foster family's great. Yet that's all one big fat lie. I don't even have a smartphone, yet all of my classmates use phones, and I've got nothing. My whole life is work, 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 both at home and at school. My aunt is a horrible person, and my cousins are obnoxious bullies. I don't really know how to break away from this nightmare. Right now, I'm just waiting to be old enough to escape this horrible family once and for all.
Hi all, I'm Susan, Mary's aunt, and I can easily relate to Harry Potter's uncle and aunt, if their foster son was as bad as my girl. My elder brother was always my best friend. He was the one who really brought me up, not our parents and certainly not the numerous babysitters they used to hire. Our age difference wasn't even that big. He was only 5 years older than me. But when you're just a kid, those 5 years could really make a difference, you see. Our mom and dad were constantly busy. Their jobs occupied all their time. They left my brother and me to babysitters. Those nannies kept us safe and sound, but they never actually bothered to teach us. So it was my brother who actually taught me to read, write, and later on, helped me with home tasks. I got used to him always being nearby, ready to help me in any possible way. Somehow I got lucky, met a nice man and married him at a young age. I bore my husband 3 sons, and my brother was always near to help us. He taught my kids, went fishing with my boys and husband, and was almost a full-blown member of our family. Of course, I hoped that someday my brother would find a love of his own. No, I really enjoyed his company, but he did so much to make me happy. So naturally, I wanted him to become happy as well. I was sure that my brother really deserved to be happy. My brother found his true love when my youngest son turned 2. My brother's young lady was a really nice girl, a blue-eyed beauty, calm and gentle. Soon she got pregnant, and in a year, she bore him Mary. Mary was a little jewel of our big family, and all of us really loved that girl. Unfortunately, my brother's happiness didn't last long. It seemed like his life was just getting started. His business grew. He bought a house and learned to be a really good dad. But then a disaster struck. My brother and his wife flew home from another conference, but their plane crashed in the middle of the ocean. No one survived. The insurance paid off, and that was it. Funny thing is, I was really glad that Mary got sick just before my brother's flight, and he left her at home. I really wanted to protect that child, to raise her as a good person in my brother's memory. Unfortunately, I loved her too much, and that was my undoing. So first of all, I adopted my niece. That was quite a simple task. I had all the papers and no one was actually against it. I knew that it would be hard for my husband and I to take care of 4 kids, but I could do nothing else. Mary was my niece, my brother's only daughter. At first, the girl cried a lot and constantly called for her mommy. I spent countless nights near her bed, catering to her wishes, helping her. My own children were left to nannies and babysitters. Still, the boys didn't complain. Instead, they pitied their little adopted sister. Unfortunately, I was overprotective, and I really spoiled the poor child. Mary was quite used to being the family's greatest treasure. So when I tried to finally assign her some tasks, she took it as a personal insult. When Mary was 6, she was already a spoiled kid. When she wanted something, she did everything she could to get it, no matter what. She held no responsibility for anything. Instead, she was always trying to portray herself as a victim. When she was 10, I tried to involve her into chores. Well, she kind of complied. But in response, she made up the story of a poor adopted girl. Since that moment, she grew fond of portraying herself as a stepmother's little Cinderella, no matter what we did. Mary lived in the best room of our house. She even chose the wallpaper herself. But my niece always told everyone that we made her live in the cupboard under the stairs. When I asked her to wash dishes, she made up stories of how we forced her to do all the chores, and so on and so forth. There are no freeloaders in our house. Everyone does what he or she can. My boys, for example, always do their fair share of work and never complained about it. But Mary told the neighbors stories about her being the only human being in the house who was actually involved in doing chores. According to my niece's stories, all of us were heartless monsters, and she was the poor, exploited child. Worst thing is, we live in a small town. Mary's stories really damaged our reputation. The neighbors started looking at us sideways. The kids tried to bully my boys at school. Even Child Protective Services got involved. Of course, we proved that Mary was making everything up, but that costed us dearly. To this day, I don't know what to do with that girl. The therapist advised to be strict with her, but that didn't work. Besides, I can't be strict with that kid. She's my niece. I love her, and I don't want to make her suffer even a little bit. I really hope that Mary would finally grow up and understand that her life is actually pretty okay, that we love her and that she's really making things up. Maybe then she'd be able to calm down, if even just for a bit. I don't even want to think about her future if she keeps acting the way she is now.
Hey guys, I'm Evelyn, and boy do I have a grudge against my parents. You see, they have 2 daughters, my sister and myself, yet clearly they only love one of us, and obviously it ain't me. Mom and Dad have long considered me an unlucky child, and well, I guess that's kind of true. I'm not beautiful by any margin, and not even cute. My quick thinking also left much to be desired. For example, the neighbors' children were able to talk and recite poetry at the age of 3, and I was struggling with, basic speech. I guess that wasn't actually my fault. You see, my mom and dad worked day and night, and I was left with an old nanny who would watch TV for hours without saying a word. Therefore, I never really had someone to communicate with, and was largely left to fend for myself. As you may have already guessed, I wasn't a model student at school. Actually, the teachers often told me I was one of the worst students in my class. Well, I did manage to avoid corrective classes, so at least there's that. When I was 6, Dad started making some real money. Mom left work and became a housewife. I was so glad to receive some attention from her, finally. But she was so disgusted and horrified of me. She discussed the situation with Dad, and together they decided to make another child. A replacement, essentially, so as not to repeat their previous mistakes with me. And that's how my younger sister was born. Of course, she immediately received all of my parents' attention. Barbara wasn't that beautiful. Yeah, okay, she was cute and she had a sweet smile. When my sister was 3, she was already a fast talker, easily recited complex poetry, and was never really shy to talk to adults, and became, once and for all, my parents' favorite child. As for me, well, my whole family ended up bailing on me. Of course, Mom and Dad weren't complete monsters. They fed me and bought me clothes and other necessities, yet they tried to pretend that I didn't exist. They even sent my old nanny to a PTA meeting because they didn't want to go there themselves. Of course, the nanny diligently passed on the teacher's complaints to my parents. She never liked me either. Once I got older, I realized that the only person capable of helping myself was myself. Of course, I really wanted my parents to love and respect me. So I decided that I would start studying really hard. And that was not an easy task by any means, but at that point, I felt I had no other choice. So I dove headfirst into my studies. I spent all of my evenings at the local library, reading and learning new things, forcing my mind to broaden and to work harder. I cried a lot because I wasn't the brightest kid around, but I knew that I had no other choice, so I continued my ordeal. My hard work finally paid off after several years, when I was already a high school student. By that time, the teachers had finally acknowledged my success. They even held me up as an example. Unfortunately, my parents never paid any consideration to my successes. Mom and Dad continued to despise me. They already had Barbara, a smart, cute, and funny girl, so what was the point of me? They never stopped addressing me as a complete disappointment. Barbara was just a normal kid, but our parents congratulated themselves on each and every one of her accomplishments. Well, yeah, okay, she wasn't like ugly or stupid, but she wasn't that bright either. You see, Mom and Dad were always on her side since birth and always helped her. Guess that was really the only reason of her not ending up like me. When I was in high school, that's when I fully realized that, essentially, I had no parents or relatives to help me. Good thing I was already a model student, and studies no longer seemed to be such a big problem for me. So I got a side job and used that money to improve my appearance. Regular exercise made me slim, and nice, albeit cheap, clothes and makeup actually made me quite attractive. Of course, I wasn't a looker or anything, but I wasn't a dog face anymore, so that was something. Some guys even legitimately found me attractive, and one or two even wanted to date me. I, however, didn't want to devote time to relationships. I wanted to enter a nice college and wanted to finally become free of my parents once and for all. Now, I'm 20 years old, and I've got everything I could have ever dreamt for. I study at a nice university, and I also have a small but quite successful business. I even have a photo studio of my very own. Some of the experts that I know say that I'm a talented photographer. Also, I even tried my hand at modeling for a bit, and it turns out that I'm quite good at it. I've got money, a flat of my own, a nice car, and finally, that long-awaited freedom. I'm finally free to be myself and do what only I want to do. Unfortunately, my parents still think that I'm a disappointment. They sometimes call me and ask me for money. They never ask how I live or how I feel or if I have any problems to discuss or not. They never offer help or advice. They only want my money. Lately, though, they really went overboard. You see, Mom and Dad literally demanded that I make Barbara a free portfolio. My sister and their beloved daughter really wants to become a model, and they honestly told me, Evelyn, you're a loser anyway, so you can at least fulfill your sister's dreams. So since then, I stopped taking their calls. I gave up on the whole idea of making peace with my family. They wished to get rid of me when I was a kid. Guess I'll fulfill their wishes on my own.
Hello, all. I'm Karen, mom of Barbara and Evelyn. Unfortunately, my elder daughter turned out to be ungrateful and cut me out of her life. My husband and I had our first child when both of us were too young. We really needed to build a career, to make some real money, so we devoted all of our time to work. And when I was finally free to take care of our kid, it was already too late. Evelyn was a totally lost cause. An ugly, quiet, and plain dumb girl horrified me. So my husband and I decided that it was too late to try and fix the situation with Evelyn, and had another kid. Barbara was the daughter of our dreams. She turned out to be a vibrant, funny, cute kid who loved smiling and was always glad to see me. With Barbara, I finally realized how great it was to be a mom. I liked catering to my youngest daughter's wishes. I enjoyed watching her grow. I loved her smile and her stories about kindergarten and school. I allowed her to join a number of school clubs, did everything in my power so that she'd have a prosperous future. And as for Evelyn, well, we didn't send her to an orphanage. We gave her food and shelter. She could have not asked for more. Of course, we never showed our firstborn kid to my friends or my husband's business partners. Evelyn was not the kid you could be proud of. So when someone came to our home, we usually asked her to never leave the confines of her room. Well, nobody really liked Evelyn anyway, so it was all for her own good. Besides, everybody really liked Barbara. She studied well, grew up quite a looker, and was able to maintain any conversation. Barbara was our pride and joy. We've even made a special display case for all her diplomas and achievements. And then Evelyn grew up, moved out, and began spreading horrible rumors. She told everyone that we literally held her on a chain in the basement. Her childhood was never like this. She grew up as a normal girl with toys and clothes and books, and a room of her own, like every other kid. And all her failures were completely her fault. She was born ugly and dumb. What could we possibly do to change that? These rumors damaged our reputation. We worked a lot to be nice parents and nice neighbors, and Evelyn's words undermined our efforts. So we started answering those that doubted us that Eve was a very ungrateful kid. We did everything for her. We fed her and taught her, and now she repaid us with lies? Good thing the girl never actually came home in person. Well, at least she sent us money when my husband ran into problems with his business. Some may say that it is wrong to take money from our own daughter. Still, we fed and clothed her when she was a kid, so she essentially just paid us back. Besides, Barbara needed nice clothes and new toys. Our little girl shouldn't be made to wait a lot. And then Barbara saw Evelyn on TV in some commercial. My little girl immediately decided that she wanted to become a professional model. So I called Evelyn and said that she should make Barbara a portfolio. After all, my little girl would be a much better model than Evelyn. Our eldest had no talent for modeling. You could tell that right away. She was a disgrace and a loser after all. Yet Evelyn disobeyed. She hung up on me and stopped taking my calls altogether. That's when I realized that Barbara was my only true daughter. We raised Evelyn like responsible parents, and she thanked us with rumors and lies.